Hey everyone, welcome back to Miniature Painting 101, a series of videos where I teach you how to paint miniatures from start to finish, and a whole lot of things in between. This is part 23 of my series, Stone, where I'll be teaching you how to paint stone colors onto surfaces. And today I'll be showing you how to paint this cork base. It's great for basically having a nice scenic base in a relatively stone pattern. You'll notice that I primed black because the grays really do go well over a black primer, and today we'll be using the Reaper Stone Triad. It's my favorite of the triads, actually. I really love the Stone Triad. It is a great color combination, has some great contrast between the grays. However, if you don't have the Reaper Stone Triad, feel free to just start with a dark color gray, represented by the shadowed stone, and then just add layers of white and keep blending whites and making it brighter gray until you're happy with the colors. So it'd be great using a wet palette in this case. We'll be going over wet palettes in future videos. So we'll start by taking our black primed cork base that's on top of a normal Games Workshop base, and we'll begin with shadowed stone. So of course give it a good shake, as you should with all your paints, and add it to my handy dandy palette. And because it's my base color, I'm going to thin it down a little bit. Now cork tends to really absorb the paint, so I always just thin it down a little bit so that I don't waste too much paint. And you'll also notice that I use a very crappy brush in this case. It's because cork tends to really wear down your brushes, so I tend to use my worn down brushes to paint it. But if you're painting a model or a smoother surface, feel free to go with a better brush. In this case, the brush is just suited for the cork surface. And I just begin by applying it to my surface. And when painting this part, feel free to leave some black in the recesses, because it just creates a really nice dark deep shadow in the stone, which looks great when it's finished, especially when you're doing it with things like bases. And I'm just going to give a nice even coat to the stone. And once again, you don't even have to do an even coat, because your stone could appear not even. And that's the thing about stones, is they all appear differently, but basically in our opinion they're always gray or grayish brown, so feel free to use any combination you want. And as I said, I'm just going to give it a nice good coat. I can feel free to leave a little bit of black in the crevices, which just provides some deep shadowing. What I really like about the cork in this particular case is that it gets a little bit rocky, cliffy appearance to it, and I just like that with my bases. And there you go. So once it's dry, as you can see, it's pretty dark, but it's pretty uniform other than the deep recesses. So let's, give it some really nice aging flavor. So of course, I'm going to give some highlights. And with rocks really just have the dusted appearance. So being dusted, we would go with a dry brush, because dry brush is great for picking off those edge details, going very quickly, and just providing a worn out, more dusted appearance. So I'm going to take the Stone Gray, which is the middle color in the Reaper Stone Triad. I really also like about the Stone Triad is you get the consistent coloring between bases. If you're trying to go with a whole army of consistently painted miniatures, as you can see here, by the way, I'm wiping off the brush for my dry brush. Just make sure that the pigments are on the brush, but not any of the medium. Check out my dry brush tutorial for any clarification. You get consistent painting with this Triad, and I really like that. And once again, I'm just going to apply it. With each consecutive highlight, you're going to notice I'm only going to focus more on the raised areas. And by raised areas, I not only mean the parts that are in the recesses, but I'm also going to focus on just the higher up areas of the stone, because that's where the sun would be hitting it. Therefore, those would be the lighter areas, and those are also the areas of stone that get bleached by sun bleached. So they would normally be lighter than the darker areas, which don't have much exposure to the sun. So as you see here, I'm just going to quick dry brush. I'm going to use a huge dry brush in this case to save myself some time and focus on those raised areas. And you can see here, I'm also focusing more on the raised part and the very top of the base. I'm trying to get a nice cool pattern. I'm going to speed it up just so that saves a little time, because you can see my dry brushing. It gets a nice brushed, dusted appearance on it. And then I'm going to repeat this a little bit just quickly over those areas, but it looks great. After one dry brushing, you can see already a lot more detail on the rock. And I'm going to use the final one, which is weathered stone. And again, it represents the sun bleached part. Once again, if you don't have this triad, you just keep adding more white as you go. And this is almost like a 1-to-1 mix this would be a 2-to-1 mix of white and black. It's a pretty light gray. And once again, I'm going to focus on the raised areas, but in this case, I'm really going to focus on the very top of that base. I want it to look really weathered at the top and to be sun bleached. As you can see, I'm going to work my way towards the center. I want the external parts to be a lot lighter than the inward parts. Plus, a model is going to be on top of the middle of the base anyway. And that's pretty much, it's a very simple process to mimic stone. It's just a really dusted appearance and a thing of grays. Now if you want to take this to the next level, I'd even recommend a 1-to-1 mix of white scars, in this case white from Games Workshop, and the weathered stone. And basically you just keep repeating this procedure. Here's what you get. I put it over a dark surface just so you can see the contrast. As you can see, it's just a composition of grays, and there's a dusted appearance and a bit of a pattern to it. And I really think in the end it's a great way of mimicking stone with a very short amount of time and a few simple, easy steps. Also, as a finishing note, since rocks are primarily dull, I made sure to hit the surface with a matte varnish, which is great for dulling down the coat and making it just give that dull stone appearance. So thank you so much for watching this episode of Miniature Painting 101. And stay tuned for next week's, on Monday, where I will be posting another Miniature Painting 101 Part 24. But if you can't wait, check out The Warp, my premium YouTube channel, where not only we get to see the next 4 months of Miniature Painting 101 episodes, we also get to see start to finish painting tutorials, battle reports, and just some awesome miniature wargaming content. So until next time, this is Jay saying, happy painting everyone.